welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, then welcome. Today I'll be sharing my TBR for the month of May. Again, like with my April wrap-up, I'm getting this video out a little late, so late in fact that I have already read one of the books that were on this TBR. So yeah, that's not very good, but oh well, it is what it is. I'm glad to still be doing this video, of course. So I think I have about 8 books that I'm putting on this TBR, not including the books that I will be picking out of my TBR jar, which is back here. And I think this time around, I'm only going to be picking 2 books out of my TBR jar because I didn't get to a lot of my TBR jar picks last month. So I think I'm going to just stick to 2 and we'll leave it at that. And another reason why I'm doing that is because May is actually going to be a pretty busy month for me. My brother is getting married this month, so I will be attending a wedding this month, and for that reason, I know for a fact that there are probably going to be 2 days out of this month where I will not be reading at all because I will be busy with the wedding and the dinner rehearsal. So I know I will be not reading those days, but I could still manage to read a lot because I will be going on a road trip leading up to the wedding, and so I know there will be times while on the road where I'll probably have time to read. I'll also be going to a resort on this road trip, and I know I'll have a lot of time to just like relax out by the pool, so I'll be able to read a book during that time. So during my vacation time this month, I still may be able to actually get some reading done, like a lot of reading done, because I'll actually have some free time as well. So it's kind of up in the air. I just don't know the days leading up to this wedding whether I'll be able to read a lot. So we'll just see how it goes. I think the TBR that I do have is still pretty reasonable despite those facts. So I still may get a pretty good amount of reading done this month. So why don't we just get into the books and I'll tell you what they are. Let's first start with the book that I already read this month. This was actually a reread for me, and that was none other than Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. It's crazy that I've reread this book already because I only first read this book in January, like literally this year. So the fact that I already have reread this book says a lot about how much I absolutely love this book. And one reason, pretty much the main reason why I wanted to reread this so soon is because I had been hearing a lot about how great the audiobook is to this book. And I was so curious about it because of all the glowing reviews the audiobook has that I decided, you know what, let me listen to the audiobook. I've just read this book recently, but still, let me listen to the audiobook. I can back it up that the audiobook is pretty fantastic. So there are 2 narrators on this audiobook, one for Allie and one for Josh. The voice actor for Allie is really good as well, but the narrator for Josh is something else. Oh my freaking god. That man's voice, I wish I knew his name. I should have looked up his name of the narrator before talking about this. But he is so great at narrating, like such a great voice, a voice that I could very much imagine Josh having as well. Like he portrayed him so freaking well. So the audiobook was definitely good and lives up to the hype. And I'm so glad I listened to it. If you have not picked up Lights Out yet, and if you are a big romance book fan, if you love dark romance as well, what are you doing not picking this book up? It is so fantastic. I cannot wait for the sequel that will be coming out next month. I can't wait to have it in my hands. And I do gotta say, if you do plan on reading this book, I would recommend listening to the audiobook, very much so. Now, let's talk about the book that I am currently reading. So I'm also putting it on my TBR for this month because I am in the middle of it. That is Kiss of the Basilisk by Lindsay. I might butcher this. I think her last name is Strobe. I'm gonna say that, but I'm not sure. So I was in Vegas visiting my mom because she lives over there this past week, and we went to a local bookstore in Vegas called the Writer's Block. If you are a Vegas local or if you are there for tourist reason, visit the Writer's Block. They are an independent bookstore, so give them a visit and check them out. It's a really cool store, so neat inside. But anyway, I picked up this book there while perusing the romance section, and I had been seeing this book a lot on, I've seen it a lot on the Facebook groups that I am in. So because this cover was familiar to me and I saw it at the store, I thought, you know what, let me get that. I briefly just like glanced at the summary on the back and saw that It has like the competition romance trope where a competition is taking place, and I love books that have to do with competitions. So I thought, you know what? I think I like this book because of that. I'm not going to talk about this book a lot right now. Let's save that for my May wrap up. But I was not expecting what exactly is in this book. And I also got to say that I am not disappointed with what I am reading. And I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to leave my thoughts at that. This one is a fantasy romance. It is a romantasy. It is very adult. And I'm really enjoying it. I can't even believe I'm enjoying it this much. But yeah, I can't wait to finish it. I'm like halfway through right now, and it's just something. It's an experience. So let's leave it at that. I cannot wait to talk about it in my May wrap up because I have a lot of thoughts and I'm not even finished with the book. Next, this will also be another reread for me, and that is Dark Lover by J.R. Ward. And the reason why I want to reread this book is because the TV show adaptation is coming out in June. So I want to prepare myself for the TV adaptation by rereading the first book in this series. This is a series that I very much enjoy. I've read the first 7 books in this series. I need to continue on with this series. There's just so many books in this series that it's really intimidating. So it's kind of funny. Instead of continuing off this series, I'm just going to reread the first book. I really love the first book in this series. I love the romance that happens in this one. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to the TV show. And rereading this book is a great way to amp up that excitement even more. So that's what I'm going to do. And if you don't know, this is an older fantasy book. It came out in the 2000s, I think in like 2005. So it's really old. And it follows vampires. So if you love vampires, and if you love like adult romances, I think you'll like this one. Next, I have Where's Molly by H.D. Carlton. And this is a spin-off book to her cat and mouse duet. The first book in that duet being Haunting Adeline. I've read Haunting Adeline and Hunting Adeline recently, and I really enjoyed those books. So I would love to read more books that take place in this world. So for that reason, I'm going to pick up Where's Molly. This book deals with a character who is mentioned in Hunting Adeline, but in this one we get her whole entire backstories, which she's a very interesting character from what I've read about in Hunting Adeline. So I'm very, very curious to read about her entire backstory. So I'm very excited to read this. It's very short, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to fly through this one. I think it's only a little over 200 pages, so very, very short. Now let's talk about the books that I don't have in my possession yet, and it's because all 3 of these books are in my book of the month order for this month, and my box is still on its way to me. So I don't have these books yet, but they are all from book of the month. So the first one is one of the books in book of the month's May catalog. So it's a brand new book, brand new release that's coming out in May, and that is Silver Elite by Danny Francis. This is the book of the month book for May that I chose for this month, and this one is a fantasy. I actually believe it's more of a dystopian, which is very interesting because dystopian is a genre that you just don't see a lot of nowadays. It kind of is a dying genre. So you just don't see a lot of new releases that are in the dystopian genre. But this book is actually dystopian, and it's an adult dystopian. So that should make for a very unique book because most dystopians that I know of are young adult. So I'm very curious about this one. That's pretty much all I know about it, is that it's a dystopian fantasy book. I think it also has some kind of military aspect to it. I think the main character has powers. That's all I know, and I think that's all I want to know. I want to go into this one mostly blind, so we'll just see how it goes. Next, I have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. I've only read one other book by this author, and that was Deep End, so I really want to read more from her. And the reason why I decided to go with Not in Love next is because she's releasing a sequel to this book that's coming out this month at the end of May. So I would love to read this book before picking up the sequel. So I thought now is a great time to finally read this book. I have no idea what this one is about. All I know is that it's a romance, so I'm sure I'll very much enjoy it. And if I enjoyed it enough, I will pick up the sequel for sure. And next I have Enchantra by Kaylee Smith. And this is the sequel to Phantasma, a book I read in April that I absolutely adored. I loved Phantasma so much. I'm like salivating at That's a weird way to say it. I'm like drooling at the thought of reading this book because I want to read it so freaking bad just because I love Phantasma so much. So I have pretty high expectations for Enchantra, but I think those expectations will be met just because I also had extremely high expectations for Phantasma, and I ended up loving that book so much. So I think this is going to be a good one. I know that Enchantra follows Genevieve, which is Ophelia's sister, who we follow in Phantasma. So now we're following Genevieve and her story. And the premise that I've heard about regarding this book is that Genevieve is like on this trip to Italy and she meets this family where I think she's competing to marry one of the guys in this family. But in order to do so, she has to resist being killed by them. So that sounds like a very intense situation. And I have actually heard the author, Kaylee Smith, say that the inspiration from this book actually came from the horror movie Ready or Not, which I love that movie. I love that movie so much. So right when she said that, I knew that Enchantra, I just know that I'm going to like this book. If it's anything like Ready or Not, oh my god, I know I'm just going to love it. So I really can't wait to read this one. Right when my book of the month box comes here, I will be picking that book up. I just need it in my hands right now. So that's all the books that I plan to read this month. Now let's get into my TBR jar. Like I said, I'm only going to be picking 2 prompts from this one just so I don't overwhelm myself too much. And usually I apply these prompts to the books that I have on my TBR cart, but honestly I felt very lazy and I did not want to lug my TBR cart into this room. I just did not feel like that. And because I'm only picking 2 books, it's like, why put in the effort to haul my TBR cart all the way into this room only to pick 2 books? Like, that just sounded so silly. So I'm just going to either apply these prompts to books that I can think of at the top of my head, or if I can't think of anything, I will just refer to my Goodreads want to read list, and we'll leave it at that. So let's go ahead and pick something and see what comes up. So the first prompt is a book with a sword on the cover. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna do some digging because right off the top of my head, I can't think of any books with swords on the cover, although okay, I got something in mind. I can't remember if this one has a sword on the cover. It's a book that's on my Kindle Unlimited. Okay, it does have a sword on the cover. I think this would be a very good one to get to. So it's called The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. I think this one is a young adult fantasy. I actually own the second book to this series, and it's a book that I ordered on Book Outlet, and I put it in my cart just to, like, I think it was to fulfill free shipping, so I just added it because of that, not realizing that it was the second book in a series. So now I own the second book. I don't own the first. I have not read the first yet, but I own the second book, which is very, very silly of me. So I thought, you know what? I will definitely try out reading the first book in this series because I own the second book. So that's why I have this one checked out on Kindle Unlimited. All I know is that it's a young adult fantasy, and that's about it. So we'll see how it goes. The ratings for it aren't the best on Goodreads, but still I'll check it out and give it a try. All right, so we got one added on. Let's pick out our second prompt. A book with a skull on the cover. How funny, these prompts were so similar, both containing objects that are on a cover. So a book with a skull on the cover. You know what? This is so funny because Where's Molly has a skull on the cover. It would have been perfect to fulfill this prompt, but I already have this book on my TBR, so we're not going to cheat with that one. Let me think of another one that has a skull on the cover. I know there's so many books that could apply to this prompt. Let's check out my Goodreads want to read list and see if something comes up. Enchantra also has a skull on the cover. That is so funny. I'm looking at this one right now. I guess this could technically count. There's like half a skull on the cover. That is The Ritual by Chantal Tessier. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. But the model on this cover is like wearing half a skull mask. Does this count? I'm gonna say it counts. And I've been really wanting to read this one. It is a dark romance, and I'm always in the mood for a dark romance. So for that reason, it sounds interesting. Don't really know what this one is about. about other than that, but I've heard great things about it. A lot of people really love this series, so I've been wanting to give it a try, and maybe this would be a great opportunity to do so. I think this one is on Kindle Unlimited, so I should be able to access it that way. So yeah, we'll add it on to my TBR. I'm gonna say out of these two books, I think the one that I am going to for sure try is The Ritual, because I think that's the one that I am most interested in. All right, so let's reflect on all the books that I have picked. I forgot to do this in my last TBR, I think, but let me once again mention all the books. So I'm going to be continuing reading Kiss of the Basilisk. I also have Where's Molly? I have Dark Lover, and my book of the month books, which is Enchantra, Silver Elite, and Not in Love. And then I have The Shadows Between Us and The Ritual. So yeah, sounds like a pretty good TBR. Let me know if you've read any of these books and your thoughts on them. I would love to know, and I guess that's all for me.